Well, everyone, it's time for us to go and take a look at the iPhone 15 and compare it against the iPhone 15 Plus and see which particular iPhone is the better one for you. Now, I will tell you, there's not really like a crazy better one for the average person in this day and age. I think both these iPhones bring a lot of stuff to the table, and there's way more similarities than differences. The colors are the same, the software updates are going to be the same, the cameras are going to be the same. Literally almost every single thing is going to be the same between these. Really, the only slight difference you're even really going to have is maybe with battery life, screen size, and maybe a few other things that kind of correspond with those two. Other than that, I think the average person is probably going to find that the smaller one might be better for them, but the bigger one might be the better one for some people, and we'll talk about that throughout this whole entire video. First of all, if you want to go and pick up either one of these iPhones up, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there, and you can help support the channel at the same exact time. Now, starting off with the outside of both these particular iPhones, on the front of the iPhone 15, we have a 6.1-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display, and in my opinion, it's a very good panel. It's a decent panel at that. You have a pretty good panel. Both these panels are 60 Hz. You have the front-facing camera, you have a little bit of bezel around it, but it isn't anything super crazy, and I do think both these phones, at the end of the day, look pretty good. I feel like if Apple kept these panels going with just adding 120 Hz and improving them here and there, I think these are pretty good panels. You have the dynamic island on the front, but it definitely isn't like the worst thing I've ever seen. On the iPhone 15 Plus, more or less the same exact thing kind of going on here too. So on the front, like I said before, you do have that dynamic island there, which is very nice. I love having it. But this is a 6.7-inch display. So the resolutions are slightly different, but nothing super crazy. But having that bigger display on the iPhone 15 Plus could be a really nice touch for some people. This is also another really big thing, because sometimes when you're getting those types of bigger displays, you can actually go through and get a way better experience when it comes down to gaming, watching movies, different things like that. If you're somebody who really appreciates those types of things, well, you're probably going to really appreciate it on something like the iPhone 15 Plus. So if you're wanting something like the 15 Plus, that might make a little bit more sense, but you have to remember the 15 Plus also costs a little bit more money than the iPhone 15. So that could be kind of a little bit of a downside if you're going through and buying an iPhone like that, to be honest. Now, they're both giving you USB Type-C ports at the bottom, which is very nice to have. I love having USB-C, and that is definitely, without a doubt, a really, really cool thing going on here. Another cool thing is that both these iPhones are basically giving you frosted glass backs. So this is something that's very new. We never really got frosted glass backs on these particular devices. So having USB-C is a very, very cool thing to have inside of these types of devices. And you're also getting, like I said before, frosted glass back. You're getting wireless charging inside of these devices too. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff to actually love and appreciate within these particular devices. Now, on top of that, with all things considered with the back of these particular devices, you're also getting things like the dual camera setup on the back side. You're getting your MagSafe capability. You're getting a lot of cool stuff, and the USB Type-C is really cool because there's a lot of USB-C accessories that have basically been coming out that are still supported on a lot of these devices too, which is another really cool, important thing to keep in mind here as well. So without a doubt, I'll definitely tell you when it comes down to the exterior, definitely gets a thumbs up from me from both of these particular devices. Now, when it comes down to the price tag of these particular phones, another really important thing to keep in mind is that the price tag of these devices is basically still going to be good for the next several years. Nothing is going to be happening. There's still, $799 and $899 respectively, but they're $100 differences right now. So the thing you have to keep in mind with these particular devices is that if you're planning on getting one phone or the other phone, you're going to be getting basically like a different type of styling when it kind of comes down to it. Because for the future of these devices, they're basically always going to be different by $100. So that right there is like another kind of big thing to keep in mind. Again, it's not the biggest deal breaker or anything, but it's just a one like other minor thing to kind of keep in mind when it comes down to it. Now, when it comes down to the cameras, this is also another very, very similar thing going on for both these devices. So you are basically getting the same exact type of, camera when it comes down to both these particular phones. So it really doesn't depend on, which type of phone you get. You're getting a 48 megapixel main angle lens, the 48 megapixel wide angle lens. Then you're getting an ultra wide camera as well, which is another very nice touch. I love having this type of ultra wide camera, and they fit really, really well inside of, that particular lens. Now you can also do 4K at 60 on the front and the back. So when it comes down to these two phones, you're basically getting the same type of experience. There's really not like this big of a difference between either one of these particular devices when it comes down to it. The big thing you have to keep in mind here though when it comes down to these two devices is that when compared to the Pro and Pro Max models, it's definitely not as good of a display, it's not as good of everything, especially when it comes down to the camera. It's just not as good as those devices as this one. The 15 and 15 Plus just aren't doing that great. But also when it comes down to the competition, like when you look at the Samsung Galaxy S24s, the S23s, I mean, even the Pixel 8s, like a lot of these types of devices can give you better pictures in some ways. When you look at the competition on the Samsung side, I mean, those particular devices can give you like 8K type of video and 8K type of capability, which is very, very cool stuff. Unfortunately, we're not really getting that on our particular iPhone, but still with the 15 and 15 Plus is still a very, very good experience without a doubt. So from that side, that kind of covers it up there as well. Now, when it comes down to the software longevity, this is another very big thing to keep in mind here too. So within both these devices, a really big thing you're going to have to keep in mind is that when it comes down to both of them, you're getting a very, very good experience. They're going to be supported with software for basically the same exact amount of time. So it's not really going to be like one device is going to be lasting way longer than the other one here. Both of these particular iPhones are going to be lasting the same exact amount of time when it comes down to it, which is, I'm not really complaining about. I think that's a really, really good thing. So whether you get the iPhone 15 or you get the iPhone 15 Plus, both these iPhones are going to be giving you probably another 6 to 7 years of software updates, probably even more depending on what Apple decides on doing in the future, which is probably going to be lengthening the software updates rather than shortening them. So I think that in and of itself, once again, is another very, very cool thing going on for this particular iPhone when it comes down to it. Now, when it comes down to the performance, again, basically the exact same thing. The performance, there's really not going to be any differences here. Apple is going to be giving us the same Apple A16 Bionic chip inside of both these devices, and we're also going to be getting 6 gigabytes of RAM inside of these devices too, which again, I'm not complaining about. I think 6 gigabytes of RAM is still perfectly fine for a lot of different devices out there, including things like the iPhone 15 and iPhone 15 Plus. So when it comes down to a device like the iPhone 15, first of all, still a very good performing phone. It is still one of the fastest iPhones you can basically buy, and same thing with the iPhone 15 Plus. This is also one of the best performing iPhones you can buy. Both of these are going to be giving you the exact same performance, and I would not be going from one iPhone to the other based on the performance of these devices. So keep that in mind. That's just one of those things to kind of keep in mind from that particular perspective. On top of that, I will tell you, if you're going from one phone to the other, really you're only going to be noticing differences going from the basic model to the Pro or Pro Max model, because that 120 Hz display. These two iPhones both are lacking 120 Hz displays, so once again, you're not really missing out too much there. And the battery life is probably the biggest difference. The iPhone 15 Plus is going to be giving you a significantly bigger battery size with better battery life. So this is some really, really cool stuff going on here, because with something like the iPhone 15 Plus, you're going to be getting the overall better experience, which is something I really do like. You're going to be getting that better type of battery life, and with that bigger battery size, that is going to be a very cool thing going on for this particular device when it comes down to it. So, in my personal opinion, what I'll definitely tell you is, I definitely do think a phone like the iPhone 15 Plus, on paper, could be the better one. You're getting a bigger size display. You're getting a phone that is also giving you significantly better battery life as well, which is another very cool thing. Unfortunately, I would say the iPhone 15 is probably the better one for the average person. And the reasons for this is because the iPhone 15 is going to be giving you a better it's going to be giving you a better price tag, and it's going to be easier to hold in the hand. It's not going to be as big and as clunky as something like the iPhone 15 Plus is. So keep that in mind. Again, not the biggest deal in the world, but just one of those small things to kind of keep in mind here. So in terms of all that, that kind of covers it up here. If you have any other thoughts or questions, please let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.